My name is Carrie Morrow. This is my podcast, What the Heck Next? I started it because it was a confusing time in my life. After producing movies and TV in Hollywood for 40 years, came to a grinding halt that I saw coming that nobody else saw coming. Everybody else told me, it's going to be great, you're going to see. No, didn't turn out that way. It became a podcast for life. We needed to start to think in Hollywood about what's going to happen to us. What's going to show up for us next? Thus the name, What the Heck Next? Because life had a way of changing our plans. Those plans we never planned to change. That's where we are now. Come along. I've had a great week on top of the fact that it was my birthday. Let's get into it. I've had a great week. So welcome back to What the Heck Next? It was my birthday on Friday, April 24th. Crazy thing is that I was actually born on a Friday, April 24th, many decades ago, more than a half a century ago. But I like when my birthday falls on a Friday because it's just sort of cyclical and back to roots. I had a great birthday. My kids woke me up with a cake, singing to me, giving me gifts and celebrating me. And I decided that I wanted to do not too much during the day. I convinced my son to go for my 2-mile walk with me and the dog. And guess what? So we go for our walk. I said to him, come on, I'll buy you a Starbucks because it's on the way of where we walk. I send him into Starbucks with my credit card. He comes right back out and goes, here, it was free. I'm thinking, well, how would they know by my credit card that it was my birthday? And I said, how come it was free? And he goes, guess what? Some guy walked into Starbucks, put down $200 on a gift card, handed it to the cashier and said, free drinks until it's gone for whoever is ordering. And that was us. And my son got his favorite drink. It didn't cost me anything. I think it was a birthday present for me that he benefited from, his favorite over-caloried Frappuccino mess with goo all over it. He likes that. We went on our walk, and then for dinner, we went to a Persian restaurant, which was really lovely. Why did I pick Persian food? I'm a vegetarian. Well, I'm really a vegan. They had like really good things like for appetizers, like hummus and tzatziki and yogurt and all my favorite things with pita bread and satar, the lovely spice. It was a great restaurant, and my son had a big shish kebab, and it was delicious. And afterwards I said, do you want dessert? And he said, no. And we were going to leave, and the waiter came over and said, I heard it's your birthday. And I said, yeah, it is, but we're going to leave. And he goes, don't go anywhere. And he comes back with this big Dubai chocolate cake. And I was so surprised. There was a band. They started singing to me. Everybody in the restaurant stood up and was singing to me. What a great day. I felt super celebrated. And it didn't stop there. The next day, my daughter, who was working on my birthday, took me for a pedicure. I got blue toenails. I got my toenails painted navy blue. And I just had a great weekend. And I got flowers from my friend Gus. I got cards, phone calls, text messages. A lot of my followers wish me happy birthday. So happy birthday to me. Another great trip around the sun. I'm going to tell you, for years, especially for the past 4 years where I haven't worked and life was just so scary, I cried. I always cried when my birthday was coming. I cried when my birthday came. At night by myself, I cried. I didn't cry this year. I was really, really, really happy. Something about the time that I have taken this past year to absorb my gratitude just sounds like it's not big enough. All the things in my life. I just did a post about counting your wins. How many wins can you count? And when you count them like in a shorter span, like Can you count wins for one day? What were your wins today? Well, I woke up. I slept through the night last night. Check, that's a win, I'll tell you for me. I slept for 10 hours. That's another win for me. I woke up, I felt great. I went on my walk. Win, win, win. I sat down. I had a list of things I needed to do, like deposit some residual checks and make some phone calls, pay some bills. And tonight, I'm going to go have dinner with my brother, Rob. He and I love to go to this restaurant here in Studio City called Hope. It's a vegan restaurant. My brother is a vegan also. And he's really the only one I can go to a restaurant like that with. Although I think my mother would appreciate it and maybe my daughter would appreciate it. It's kind of the special place that my brother and I like to go to. It's a small restaurant and it's got the most seriously delicious food, really unique, really special. And that's where we're going for dinner. Check. Win. That's a great thing. I also got some phone calls from some high school friends, and that was really nice. And life just made me happy this year. I always hesitate saying the word happy. I used to feel like when I say the word happy, something bad happens, but it doesn't. Since my trip to the South Pacific for my mother's 90th birthday back in the fall, I told you I left there, and the lesson I took with me, because it was so much solitude, peace, and serenity, uninterrupted thinking, and like the air just didn't even move in a bad way. It was the most unbelievable experience. It was more than a trip, it was an experience that I left there saying, you are allowed to be happy, not be afraid to say it. And that's a big, big, big step for me. Check. When I have kept that with me since returning from that trip, that I'm allowed to be happy. And this birthday, I felt so good. I'm telling you, it was the loveliest, loveliest day. And I am so grateful for all the people, and quite a few high school friends remembered me, lots of followers, lots of friends. And I felt very, very, very blessed that I felt that way. It sounds strange that I dialed into how I felt. Maybe that trip in the fall that gave me so much time, space, and peace to find that emotion, that being happy is something I'm allowed to be. Even when I don't have anything really tangible, I am up to here with this insurance thing. I thought that we were making strides and I was making progress. But in the past couple of weeks, about a month ago, they sent out somebody to see the demolition, to see what's not left of my house anymore. And at first, I, by nature, was afraid that she was like the enemy. She's going to hurt me. She's going to see something or say something that was going to hurt me. But then I realized she was rather sound and rather smart about what she saw. And apparently, she went back to the insurance company and said, "Oh my gosh, you're in this for a mess for near $1 million." Wow. I think that got the insurance company so upset. Like, how did it get to this place? Let's review that I had for the longest time said to the adjuster, I think somebody should come see the house before you tear it apart. I think somebody should come see it. For the longest time during the first phase, when they first paid to have those things fixed, then tore out everything that needed to be fixed. And they started asking me, where did you spend the money? And how did you spend the money? I gave them a full accounting. I spent it on what they gave it to me. I fixed the roof and I fixed all the holes and everything. But it was after I fixed everything that they then came in. The second lawyer found asbestos in 10 places, exposed, that I was living in with my mother, myself, and my children in this house that was fixed, but things were still needed to be torn out because they needed to environmentally test it. They found out that there was asbestos, and down the rabbit hole we went. And all of a sudden, they started to shift and they started to rather come after me. You need to prove this and you need to show receipts for that. And hello, stop it for a second. The way the housing money was working was that they were giving me an allowance less than if they found me a house. The problem is that they kept coming back to me with homes a year ago that that didn't work. I mean, they had stairs. My mother can't climb the stairs. They were in really bad neighborhoods. They didn't have parking. They only had street parking, whatever the problems were. So I said, I'll take the lower amount and I'll find my own housing. Well, I found my own house, but it's too small. So we have to move on Mother's Day. And all of a sudden, their tail feathers are up in the air. You're a little late to that party. I decided to file with the state of California insurance commissioner and asking ChatGPT, you know me and my ChatGPT, that was the direction that it encouraged me to go. And they just got to fix my house because at this point, in pure honesty, it's a bad faith lawsuit for probably a few $1,000,000. And I am not here to jump into a full-blown lawsuit. I want my home back. I want it fixed. I want it repaired. I want it restored because they authorized a procedure in my house that has rendered it unlivable. If they had come to see it and said, you know what, we're not going to authorize this, just fix those spots and then we'll get on our way. But they didn't do that. They authorized the complete gutting of my home, and I've showed videos of that. It's gut-wrenching what they did to my home. Here's where we are with that situation. But you know what? I'm going to stay calm. I can't control it, but I can control how I feel about it. I'm not going to be scared, which is my number one emotion, fear. And there's nothing to be afraid of. I'm going to get my home back eventually. In the meantime, we have to move because I can't live in this little 2-bedroom place anymore. On another note, what else was I afraid of? Remember, I told you I was praying for 3 things: hockey, hire, home. Well, guess what? I got hired to do that budget, and that's in progress. I will keep you updated on that, and maybe it'll turn into a movie. I got hockey, check. So here's what we did. We ran around the country, and he had a couple of tryouts. But I have this crazy habit. When something doesn't feel right to me, unconsciously, I shake my head. Like I walk around shaking my head. And after we went, he had a big invite to try out for a Florida organization. Very good one, but it's a new one. This particular club is very new. That I'm on the plane flying home last week, shaking my head, going, this doesn't feel right. This is something, I don't know what it was. It didn't feel right. And the funny thing is that while we sat in the room with them and they made my son an offer and said, you want to do this? We'd love to have you. At that moment, they would normally hand you a contract, tell you to look over the contract and sign it. But they didn't. They didn't hand us a contract. They said they would email us. We returned, except no email came for a couple of days. Well, there was a little too much space there because out of the blue, I told you I always pray for these out of the blue miracles. Out of the blue, a team shows up outside of Boston saying, we've seen you, we've seen your footage, we love your film, we want you as a center for next year. We are pulling this new group of kids together. We're bringing back only 5 kids, and we want you. I was shocked. But the more they presented and the more transparent they were about everything, it showed me how not transparent the other clubs were. Like one of the teams, my son said to the coaching staff, where do you see me fitting in with your team for next year? And they stood right up and they said to the kid, we're not answering that. What do you mean you're not answering it? I just spent the entire season with you. You can't tell me where I fit in for next year? No. Okay. I don't accept those wishy-washy answers, and not for his very important hockey future. So I kept peeling back the onion. There was more offers, more opportunities. Listen, I've been in this hockey world for a long time. I could write a book about this, at least from the hockey mom perspective. And this was something different. When I spoke to scouts and when I spoke to some other coaches, when I told them what the team was outside of Boston, they were like, that's an amazing organization. That is a solid organization with high level alumni who go to NCAA. This is a great opportunity for him. They wanted him, they're taking him. It did not take long, except what they did was the rules are, I should say, in this, junior hockey level is that you can't take a signed player. So if a player is signed to another team, you can't touch them until they're out of that contract. And I guess the coach that wanted him at this club, he did his homework. So he had heard where he had tried out and he called around. So he called the Florida coach saying, I need to know for a fact, did you sign him yet? Because I want him. They said they hadn't signed him. They dragged their feet. And then they called back and said, here's the contract. We're signing you, the Boston club. Well, the Florida club called and they were pretty upset. They said, we're really disappointed. It was very awkward because they were waiting and they were waiting a week and a half. And that I don't understand. That kind of diminishes his value if you think you've got that much room. He had other offers. Well, guess what? I pray it worked out for the best. So there's my 3 H's. So hockey, hire, and the stupid house. We're still dealing with the stupid house, but I did find a wonderful rental. That is a miracle. I'm very grateful that I found it. We're moving, and it's a much more doable situation. It's one level, and it's in a decent area, very beautiful neighborhood, and it's a big house. Not too big, but it's a lot of space, and it's on a big piece of land with a big swimming pool. It'll be lovely to spend the summer there. I'm really excited about it. And so there's at least my house hunt worked out, because that's just so stressful for me. I've told you that I like to know where I'm living. I own a house. I own a house for near 35 years and can't live there right now. But it's interesting to me. It's been a fascinating, week in Hollywood, because it's confirmed Paramount is buying Hollywood. That's the big news out of Hollywood. And I don't think it's great news. I think it's not like you're taking two giants and putting them together to have a mega giant. It's almost like, this one ate this one. And so it makes this one a little fatter, but it doesn't make them, it just makes them a conglomerate with they'll have HBO underneath them and CNN and a lot of things underneath Discovery. But I'm not quite sure. Hollywood is not the same as it was. And it's interesting. I found a lot lately of these experts that are talking and running their mouth about Hollywood. I saw this social media post. I think it's a clip from a podcast. It's this girl. I don't know who she is or what she is. She looks very young, and she's going, I don't understand. Like, Hollywood is going to turn to this place where they're learning to make 10 $1 million movies instead of one $10 million movie. It's going to be so much better. Who are you, and who made you an expert to talk on this? Probably because you just needed to run your mouth and pretend like you were associated with Hollywood, but that's not how Hollywood works. Okay, here's how Hollywood works. Okay, I am an expert. After 40 years of producing movies and TV, the reason it left this country, why? Because it became too expensive. So if you're going to make $1 million movie, guess what? That cost doesn't become less expensive. It means that you're going to try to work for nothing, which nothing doesn't fit into the union mold of benefits, the pension, health, welfare, and the rates, minimum wage even. Hollywood doesn't work like that. When the unions are going to find out that they're losing work to $2 million projects, oh, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I find myself responding to these experts because I find that in Hollywood now, all these people that are talking about what they predict and what's going to be, they know nothing. They literally know nothing. The people that do know, they're not talking because they're waiting to see what's this going to all mean to us? What is this going to mean to those of us who spent decades, our whole life in Hollywood? Me and all my friends. My friend who is now trying to get a job as a cashier at Nordstrom's Rack. That's the experts who understand that what we have to pay people to make a movie is far beyond $1 million, because they try to think, oh, well, we can break all the rules. We can do it for nothing. Nothing. I love that word, nothing. And we're going to make these movies for $1 million. And those aren't movies. If one of 10 makes it, I don't even know what make it means anymore. Is that to the TV screen? Is that to the YouTube? Is that to Tubi? Is that to the theater? I don't know what it means anymore. But I write these like really aggressive responses like, who made you an expert? So my lesson for the week is, how did everybody become an expert on nothing? Nothing. That is what I'm fascinated with. People are just talking and they know and it's going to be. And here's what I think. Here's what I think. What you see is what you get, especially right now in Hollywood. If you see nothing, you see no jobs here, it's because there aren't any. Okay? There aren't any. Sure, there's a few people that are excited that Netflix just announced they're going to buy Radford Studios. Now, let's do the math. It's like a second marriage. Think about that. A company bought Radford for billions of dollars just years back, billions of dollars. Then Hollywood left. There was no work to supply the revenue that is needed to keep a studio, Radford Studios, which used to be part of CBS. They couldn't sustain. So therefore, Radford went belly up, upside down. I don't know who it was, whatever bank, sold it off. Bye. Sold it off like fire sale. An entire movie studio lot, which you wouldn't have heard of because it's more associated with certain shows like Mary Tyler Moore, and some famous shows were shot there, big shows. It was used for studio space and office space, production office space. Now, this week, Netflix bought it for the few $1 million fire sale price. Everybody's like, oh, that means it's gonna bring movies and TV back to Hollywood. No, it doesn't. It doesn't mean that. It just means that probably the Netflix office on Sunset Boulevard became either too small or too expensive. So they're going to move to the valley and spread out a little bit and rent out their space and hope it's worth it. It's probably now much cheaper to move to the bankrupt Radford Studios than to sustain the Netflix conflict, the Netflix complex on Sunset Boulevard, which is expensive. It's a big building and takes up a lot of space, parking, and they were using like Raleigh stages and stuff. So now they're going to have their own little space. But that doesn't mean, you experts out there that know everything, doesn't mean Hollywood's coming back because Netflix bought a space. They're also, by the way, building a stage in New Jersey. So they're going to move their offices and their space to the stages. But I can't tell you, occupancy in Los Angeles is like down to 20% for stage space. Nobody's working here. And that ridiculous state incentive is whatever. The federal incentive is not moving at this point. And I don't know where these people become these experts. And I go through social media and I find these people that are just yammering about what's going to happen in Hollywood and all this work that's coming back. I hope so. Like I said, call me. I'm here. I got this script, by the way, to do a breakdown on, and it's really reasonable. I love reading a script that somebody says I'd like to make it for under $5 million, and it's a $5 million script. Easy peasy. That's what I like. I really appreciate logic when it comes to not we're making, War and Peace or Gladiator for 5 million. We're making a reasonable movie for $5 million. I think there's 10 actors in it. It's can be done in a really reasonable 20 days, probably. But guess what? What they say, where should we make this? Footnote, not here, and not here in the country. Okay. Fiji has 47%. Thailand now has 30%. Mexico, 30%. Anywhere but here. So you people can keep building your stages, but we need to fix what's internally not working. So experts who are experts on nothing can keep talking about nothing that they're experts on. I feel very privileged to be able to speak on it. I had a really nice thing happen on my birthday. A few months ago, I had gotten called to, I think I mentioned it, to do a budget for a reality show, like not even a budget. It was really to set up like a presentation, like a presentation for their concept, like a concept presentation. And they ended up not getting the money. And the man was very nice. I never met him. It was a phone conversation, but he was very kind. He's a very big producer. He's connected with some very big names. He was very impressed with who I had worked with, and we knew a few people in common. And he's a very prominent producer. On my birthday, literally, there he pops up on my phone. And he said, I'm driving down the 405, that crazy traffic freeway in Los Angeles. Something said, call Carrie Morrow right now. So I'm picking up the phone to call you. And I said, oh, you must know it's my birthday. And he goes, oh, I had no idea it was your birthday, but something made me call you. And I said, what was it? And he goes, I have a couple of things that are kind of brewing around right now. When I sat in my quiet, thought, who would I like to make this with? I thought of you. I would love to work with you. I can't wait to work with you. You are a special, magical person. That was just the sweetest words. I'll tell you why. Because I've had a really rough journey in later years with people just being so awful and hard and unnecessary, big word, unnecessary towards me. And when the project is fine and nothing is broken and everything's fine, there is this point in every production I've told you where things just start to sort of spiral and get a little confusing and rough. This guy was, I am so grateful to know you. There is something magical about you. He's right. I am special. I am great to work with. I am fun to work with. I'm great at what I do. I am an expert who can speak as an expert from where I have come and from where I am going. And it was a lovely phone call to have that kind of flattery on my birthday and in general, because I have to agree with him. I am really lovely. I feel that about myself. I know how lucky I am to have people around me that honor me, appreciate me, and see me for who I am. So I come every week to sit, do my podcast because most of my friends just can't talk about this mess anymore. But I can because I am an expert who can speak as an expert. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It's been an amazing week. I appreciate you. Please subscribe and tell people about my podcast. Like, follow on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Every day I have a daily post where I give my insight about Hollywood or life or parenting or hockey momming. Uh, they're fun. I'm gaining a lot of followers and the best is yet to come. So happy birthday to me. And I look forward to seeing you next week with more of my What the Heck Next advice. My name is Carrie Morrow. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for listening, liking, following. I look forward to seeing you again. Always remember, great things happen when you shoot the puck.